Okay, I know some of you thinking that, well, this must be clickbait. No, it's not clickbait. I'm probably one of the few people on the entire planet who has watched an insane amount of zombie movies. I like zombie movies, and unfortunately, there are it's a very loose definition, okay? Before George Romero, zombies, as we know them, really didn't exist. When they said zombies in a movie, you might be thinking of a vampire, you might be thinking of a creature that has lost its free will, but not necessarily a brain eating zombie. So, really, George Romero kind of fixed that in. How this list is going to go is I'm going to have some that you've seen before that you're going to be like, okay, yeah, I knew that one. And then you're going to have some that you've never seen before. And in total, you should have a very comprehensive list of stuff that you can find online right now and watch. I'll have a ton of links in the description, including lists that I've used and things like that. And it could be like a little resource for you. But instead of you sitting there and trying to find good movies yourself, I thought, why don't I make a video encompassing some hear me outs? So these hear me out list is going to be more like zombie movies that don't quite fit the frame. Even 28 Days Later wanted to be seen as an infection movie, but we know damn well that that's a fucking zombie movie. I don't know why he wants it to be seen any different, but that movie will go on the normal list, whereas when I get to them, I will kind of explain my rationale. Now I'm going to go through these one at a time. I'm going to have timestamps so you can jump around. And I just want to explain my position, reasoning, and my opinion on some of these. Now, some of these I have a bad opinion of, but they're actually really good movies that a ton of people love. So I know that my own personal opinion might affect you. Don't let it. If something looks interesting after you see it here and you go and you Google it and something looks interesting, give it a watch. All of these movies are completely watchable, but not all of them did I like because I have very specific preferences. Sometimes I like absolutely dog shit movies for no reason. But I will tell you this list is very comprehensive. You really won't find a list like this because people didn't put up with what I had to put up with, which was watching Danny Trejo in like fucking 50 zombie movies, dude. I don't know what that guy does. Like, dude, I'm not kidding. Danny Trejo might be the only man in existence that is like, he is in the most amount of zombie movies I've ever fucking seen in my life, and they're all terrible. Most of them are just god awful. And let's get into this. I'm going to show you, so far, I'm going to show you some of the lists that I had to pick from over the years. And I'm just, to prove my point, just to show you that this is not a joke. There is a shitload of zombie movies. You can, with this link that I will give you, go through them all. Now, this this list I'm about to make really is a curated list. This is a list that cannot be ranked. I'm not going to rank these because there's no way to rank some of these. It's just impossible to rank some above the other. I'm going to keep going here. I have seen quite possibly much more than 300, but I'm going to be honest, after like 100, I didn't keep count. Okay? I'm going to be honest. But I know that I have seen at least 200 and most likely well over 300. Then we have the list here, which this guy, Pete, does not keep this list up. This was last modified 10 years ago. This is not a complete list and also includes video games and TV shows. I am not covering TV shows. So for people who are here for the kingdom, I have a special thing for you, but no TV shows. I will cover TV shows in a completely separate thing because in doing this video will be too long for me to sit here and show you all that. Now, there are some movies that I absolutely think are not zombie movies. Okay? There are some in this list that are not zombie movies, but they are close. But a lot of people don't understand that after George Romero made his first movie, did we start to really develop the idea of what is a zombie. Before that, honestly, most of the black and white films that I love, those are mostly vampires and different stuff like that, ghouls, but not zombies in the traditional sense. A zombie could be someone who just lost the will to live, or is like a husk in that era, and we're going to go through all of that. Now, here's the good list. Now, even though they're all these, this has most of what you're looking for. This has comic books, this has movies, this has board games, TV shows, you name it, it's fucking in here. And I'm going to tell you right now, I might not scroll through this whole thing. I just kind of want to get people to realize this is absolutely not clickbait. I do like zombie movies a lot. And if there was a movie that I didn't name on this list, before we go any further, I want you to go down, okay? Before we go any further, I want you to maybe type in your favorite zombie movie. Tell people why it's your favorite zombie movie. The thing about this channel is we're fostering some non-bullshit over here. You might call this the non-bullshit channel. I want you guys to talk and find value in the comments. I don't think you should pull your opinion directly from me, and I don't think you should listen to me on everything. I think that I have very specific tastes, and I'm a movie lover, and even something like the production quality can set me off, or something like bad writing. And I'm going to tell you, zombie movies have some fucking horrendous writing. They absolutely do. Zombie books, a little bit better, but they're books. They have to have good writing or they don't sell. I'm going to say this, though. You, at any point, even after the video is over, and if you found value in this, hell, I'm going to tell you right now, what would help me the most is you just letting the video play. If you let the video play, mute it and let it play, that would help me on YouTube. What also helps is to subscribe if you like this kind of content, and I'll know that people will actually want to see this. I've dedicated a lot of time into this, and I really want this to succeed because it's something that I'm alive right now, and I realize how much time and effort I've put into this, and it's a little depressing. It's pretty bad, but I still want our comment section, especially on my channel, to be informative, to be questioned. I love when I'm in any of my Lord of the Rings stuff, when someone has a real question and they say, you know, like, why did they do that thing? There's always a guy in there that goes and comments the most gigantic paragraph of all the knowledge he has. That's the channel that I want to be. That's the channel that I would like our community to have those people within it. Okay? Because I can't research and do everything. But let's get into this list, and we're going to start with a little bit of weird stuff. We're going to probably start with stuff you haven't seen before. We're going to get into some classics, then we're going to get into some Hear Me Outs. The Hear Me Out section, again, is a section dedicated to, maybe it's not a zombie movie, but it definitely feels like a zombie movie. And if you like zombie movies, you're going to notice that feeling you get is the same, right? So, let's get into this. Now, this is a big one. I want you to notice this has 100%. Now, that is not the audience rating on this is 84. And I'm going to just, look, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to be straight up. Is this the most high budget quality movie ever? Absolutely not. And if you watch a trailer for it, you're going to say, wow, this looks like absolute dog shit. And you know what? I think it's fair. The acting's a little weird, but if you watch the movie, I want to tell you this one thing. It actually has a reason for all of those things. This one can apparently be watched anywhere you've ever had to lay your eyes on anything. But I'm going to tell you right now, it's one of those that looks bad, but then you try it and you're like, damn, I really would have skipped this if I, like, okay, it's kind of on them, right? They made a crappy trailer. They did not show what the movie was. They did not show how funny it was. They did not show, and mind you, this is a horror comedy. This one specifically, horror comedy, if that's not your thing, I wouldn't watch it. It has that comedy aspect in there, sort of like Shaun of the Dead, Shaun of the Dead had that comedy aspect. Now, this one is a classic. We're talking about Braindead or Dead Alive. This movie is extremely hard to explain for those of you who haven't seen it. But essentially, guy has a house, portal in the house, a lot of weird shit. You'll just have to watch it. It again, comedy, I would say. Oh, geez. I would say comedy. Please get out of here. Horror comedy. It's really decent. This is a Peter Jackson film. Okay. I want people to realize this. This is a Peter Jackson film before he made Lord of the Rings. Keep that in mind. Did he do really good on this? Yes. This is an absolute classic. Some of you will have seen it and some of you won't. Is the writing like absolutely insane? Yes. It's crazy. It's the concepts in it and the ideas in it, very crazy. Here's a good one. Here's a really solid, run-of-the-mill zombie movie. It is lower budget, but the acting is fantastic. It's got really great actors in it. It's absolutely worth watching. This one takes place in a radio station, and I'm going to give no spoilers. Takes place in a radio station. Shit goes sideways, and they got to figure it out. They're stuck at work. What do you do? That's all I'm going to give you. This one, horror mystery. I think this is the first one on the list that I think a lot of people who love zombie movies are going to absolutely love if they see it. Now, if you're not a fan of lower budget, it is lower budget, but it doesn't feel low budget. It might not be high budget, but it doesn't feel very home film based. Now, moving on. Horror action. This is called The Sadness. If you, I'm just going to say this, if you are squeamish and most of the zombie movies you've ever seen are not that bad, this movie is gore. If any of you know the Ichi the Killer movie, this movie has so much shit in it. If you're squeamish, if you can't watch a lot of gore, but you like zombie movies, do not watch this one. It's not yours. Again, very easy to watch. I picked a lot of these that are available online for free sometimes. I would say, honestly, the ratings are decent, but not for everybody. It's an Asian film, if that matters. Some people only like films from certain regions. Here's one that's really weird. Wyrmwood. Now, this is going to be one where I have a weird opinion, okay? Does it have decent reviews? Yes. But it is a low-budget movie, and it combines Mad Max with Evil Dead, and it is a zombie movie. It is a straightforward zombie movie. but it's very kind of horror, slapsticky, Evil Dead, a little bit more Army of Darkness, but it has a very it's a very Road Warrior vibe. Now it's not totally straight up. This chick, not a spoiler by the way, this chick has powers. Other than that, I'm not going to tell you anything. I am going to say it's worth a watch. And if you just can't get past the fact that it's low budget, that's where it's going to fall apart. It is a lower budget. It's like a guy that it's almost what the movie feels like to me is that somebody loved zombie movies and they say, I want to do that. I want to make a zombie movie. And they wrote a story when they were like a teenager, and this is what came out. But decent overall. Okay. This one's called Alive. I'm going to say this. I think it's definitely worth the watch. It was on Netflix. I do not know if it's on Netflix now. It got very good reviews. I will say this, for those of you wanting your classic zombie experience, this one will be one of those, but it covers issues and topics that a lot of zombie stuff does not do. They really keep you in the action in the moment, and they don't really talk about the hard fact of what these people are going through. And it's called #Alive. It's, it doesn't really, it's just so hard. It's so emotionally heartbreaking, this movie. But it is one of the better zombie movies that has been made, with a good budget, a good story, very fresh, very new, not the same old stuff that we've seen. And I really recommend it. It's a tough watch though, emotionally, but if you can get past that aspect, fantastic. Now, for our Kingdom fans, here is a movie called Rampant. Rampant is essentially just Kingdom, but in a movie. Really good watch. Very good. Korean, though. It is Korean. It's got decent reviews. It is, even though it is not what you would typically expect, it is still decent in my opinion. And I think people should watch it, but going into it, just assume that, like, it's more of a hero fantasy zombie movie. Kingdom was sort of the same way. It's not as grounded, though. Okay, moving on. So, this is I Am Hero. Good reviews. People loved it. I personally think that, how do I explain it? So I believe, and I'm not 100% on this, that this was taken from like an anime, manga, or something like that. And so it has those like really powerful, like, we're gonna do this kind of guys. Like, yeah, team. It's got like unrealistic, the way people act in animes and mangas and stuff, right? Like, it's got that unrealistic aspect to it, but it also has that kind of Asian comedy that we don't really get over here. But it's horror action. I think it's absolutely worth a watch. It could be It could have been better for me personally, but I just think that this is one that people would miss out on. If you like anime and manga, this might actually be a better one for you. There's been TV shows that have shown up recently, that Zom 100. This is not the TV show, version of this film, of this list, but I just want to kind of equivocate, like, these are similar things. If you like larger than life, if you kind of like that, beautiful Joe style stuff, then I think this is a really good one for people, and it's very transformative the way the characters arc. Okay, moving on. Dead Snow. This one is a very hard sell to anybody, I think, because, well, it's got Nazi zombies. It's also very weird. Okay, it's a very weird movie. It's very Norwegian. It's very it's not your typical zombie movie. They are zombies, but they are, somewhat sentient thinking zombies in this. And it's also just feels like a lower budget movie. Now, I know a lot of people have said that it was still a good time. It was a good watch. And if you haven't seen it, that it is, worth watching. And I absolutely agree that I think a hardcore zombie fan is going to find some value in it. But I think the more mainstream people are going to say, what the fuck are we watching? So I'm going to give this a big old on that. If you like mainstream stuff more than you like hardcore, like lower budget stuff, then I would say steer clear of it. And it is what it is. But sometimes these people go out there and they make a film that they want to see, and not necessarily something that sells everywhere. And this is like one of those cases where they just love doing it. Okay, this one, this one is a hard sell. I tell you what, I'm going to read from here. Dave, a washed up musician recovering from a bad breakup, is attracted to his nephew's sister, or teacher, sorry. Oh my God. Miss Caroline. However, his plans to woo her are interrupted by a sudden invasion of zombies. This is a hard sell, even for me. Essentially, they have a school band that has to get together and fight off zombies. The problem and the reason that it's on this list is there's what I think and there's what everyone else thinks. If most people agree that this is a good watch and it's something to not skip, it's called Little Monsters, by the way. If most people agree that it's really worth at least giving a chance to, then I have to really think about, like, well, what does my opinion matter? Shouldn't we add this to the list because it's getting enough attention from most people? Now, what I will say is this about this movie in particular. It's very overlooked. It is very no one's seen this fucking movie. Okay, when I say no one, I mean like very few people. I think this is one that is going to be new to a lot of people. And honestly, I think it's going to be very enjoyable to some people because this is one of the only... Okay, how do I say this very without seeming racist? This is one of the only few with a black person in it at all. Okay, like zombie movies just don't have black people, that is not my fault. I'm just telling you, I've watched hundreds and hundreds, and it really, who knows how many I've watched. I'm going to tell you, there's a significant lack of black people. There's a significant lack of black zombies, black people as actors, people in the film. I don't know. I think just white people like zombie movies. I don't know. All I know is this. This is one that does feature an African American lady, and I would say this: it wasn't my thing, but I really do think that I think most people out there now, it's going to be a low budget, and it's going to be like a little comedic at times, but overall, you know, it's a comedy. You know, it's a comedy, but I just want to stress that for me, it was a little tough of little bit of a tough watch. But that's just my opinion. Do not, take my word on that. Now, moving on. This is Valley of the Dead. And I want to say something about this. Rotten Tomatoes is given it 90%, but not many people have seen it. Okay? I think 90% is high, but I also think that it is one of the, for me, I'm going to say this, for me, Valley of the Dead is, how do I explain that? Valley of the Dead really represents one of those movies where you have a ragtag group of people and you have characters that you start to care about. It's like when we think about like movies like Atlantis that has a really unique kind of cast. We talk about like Ocean's 11 and stuff like that. You have this ragtag group that you get to know over the film. And I don't know how to describe it, but there's very few good zombie movies that really like hit the mark in my book. This one honestly feels like it is one of the best, one of the better zombie movies. And the writing, I don't know, man, I don't know how to describe it without, like, I don't want to spoil anything. The writing is absolutely peak. The storyline, peak. There's a reason for everything. There's no plot holes. There's a lot of, I wouldn't say there's no plot holes. I'm sure you can find them if you dig. But I will say the way it's put together, the way it acts, and you can watch. It was at Netflix. I am telling you the acting. This movie was not. Yeah, Spanish. This movie was not, absolutely not, made by like some American studio with hundreds of millions of dollars at all. So going into it, the actors that they found that I've never even seen before, and how well they did all of their roles and how believable that they did it for a zombie movie just that popped out of nowhere, dude, I am telling you, it actually was one of the better films. During the Spanish Civil War, sworn enemies must work out together when they encounter flesh-eating zombies created by a Nazi experiment. That's another theme. A lot of Nazi zombies. I don't know what that's about. I'll just say, even if you look at this one, look at the trailer for it, and you say, I don't know, watch it. It definitely surprised me. I watched it on a whim and was absolutely surprised. Now, this next one is actually pretty popular. It's actually a pretty popular one. It is a like spoof of Shaun of the Dead. Okay? The only way to describe this is just wild. I Juan of the Dead, it's another horror comedy. And trust me, guys, I know this list is going to be big. But we're getting to the ones that aren't comedy. I kind of front loaded it with like getting the ones that no one's seen out of the way a little bit, because I do want to provide value to people rather than wasting your time and you go through a whole fucking list and there's nothing there. But this is another horror comedy. All I'll say with this one is just watch it. Watch it, and if it doesn't pique your interest, then it does not feel low budget, although it clearly was. Everything is done like really decent. All the gore, all the storyline, and everything. I really think that this will be one, if you like the horror comedy genre, this will be one that you cannot replace. It's really up there. I mean, whoever, Juan of the Dead, come on. It is a spoof, but it feels like it belongs right alongside Shaun of the Dead. It does. It feels like that. But I'll say this: if you guys have seen this before, tell other people. Tell other people why you liked it. I think that would be our best bet, because I'm not able to put some of these in words because I'm realizing slowly as I'm making the fucking video, because I'm an asshole, that I really should have prepared how to describe these with no spoilers and to really get across kind of like the vibe and everything. Like, I really want to give real feedback here. Now, moving on to Doomsday Book. Now, this is going to be one of those where I think a lot of people might not like it, okay? I am going to describe this movie and just trying to get you to understand, like, kind of what it's about. Because if you watch the trailer, trust me, it does not help. Essentially, they've got a robot. It's a robot Buddha. They're worshiping the robot. An outbreak happens. They have to hide in this kind of like fort thing. Not really sure what the place is. But I think worth the watch. Reviews are not great. But on this one, I kind of like wanted to add some left field type stuff that you've definitely never seen before. And I mean, it's got good actors in it, absolutely. I think that the writing and kind of like the ending is where people get fucked up. I'm gonna leave it at that. Doomsday Book, not bad or good, but it's like, if you've seen everything else, like me, like if you're like, okay, I guess I'll watch it, I would say give it a shot. If you're not into it, that's cool. It's definitely, one of those Korean horror, so if you don't like the Asian zombie movies, I'd steer clear. Okay, moving on. The Dead Don't Die. Now, this one I'm actually excited to talk about. This is one of those that was like a fly-by-night. They dropped it. I didn't know it was coming out. Came to Netflix. The Dead Don't Die is it's got Bill Murray, okay? And it's got Adam Driver, the guy who played Han Solo's son in the Star Wars movies. Kylo Ren or whatever. But they're in this. They play they play cops that are basically, without spoiling anything, they're cops that are on duty and then they start to get fucking wacko calls. And yeah, Tilda Swinton in this. I don't know how to describe it without spoiling anything. Anyway, it's just your small. It's like if a small town, like think about like a small town in like Texas or some rural place, and all of a sudden zombies, and everyone's like, zombies? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? If you see the trailer for this, you'll instantly be sold for it. Like, you'll want to watch it like immediately. I will say, did it get great reviews? No. It really is just like a guilty pleasure movie. It is another comedy, but it's like one of those guilty pleasure movies. It's like, I'm glad they made it. You know, I'm glad they made it. It was a really fun movie. Would I rank it the best movie ever made? Absolutely not. But just having, you know, they got fucking Danny Glover, Selena Gomez. Dude, this movie is packed. This movie is so fucking packed to the brim with A-listers and stuff like that. And I just got to say, it's very well made. It's very well made. If you like this kind of stuff, if you're more of a mainstream person, again, it's not for you. It would be really for those people who have kind of grew up with zombie movies. And yeah, it's just like, you want to appreciate it for what it is. Now, is it a satisfying ending? Is it, you know, climactic? And, you know, no. It's like, it's almost like kind of just regular people react to zombies. Kind of like if zombies were real, how we would have zombie memes on YouTube. Zombie meme compilation. That's what I think about this. I think it's decent though, and all the actors have their really creative ways of bringing their character to the scene and the way that they portray themselves. I don't think it got as many views as it should have gotten, but it's not terribly great. Again, this is going to be just more of a fan thing. A lot of references to other zombie movies. Anyway, moving on. You know it, you love it. This is 28 Days Later. 28 Days Later is the quintessential best zombie movie in some people's books ever made. Even though the guy who made it did not think of it as a zombie movie and did not want to be associated with zombie movies because, you know, you don't want to be associated with low budget horror for something that's very deep and very impactful and it's trying to tell a real human story and you're an artist. Anyway, he didn't want to be associated with zombie movies. Unfortunately, he is right up there as one of the best zombie movies. Now, am I saying it is the best? No. But it's up there. It's on a lot of people's lists, and if you talk about zombie movies, it's very hard to get out of the conversation without at least mentioning 28 Days Later. Now, this is a slow burn, realistic, very gritty, very emotional, very tough thing to watch. They have a lot of stuff in this that is absolutely gut-wrenching to think that, like, if you were going through this, you know, what your choices have to be and, you know, the sacrifices you have to make. I think it raises a lot of moral questions, and I think it's just beautifully crafted with little sections in there that make you, it brings you back. It makes you forget, oh, we're in a zombie apocalypse, you know? Like, it brings you back out of that, and it kind of like lets you have fun for a bit, but then it puts you right back into the shit. I think anyone that says that they don't like 28 Days Later, just, you're not a zombie fan. I think that there's tons of movies out there. I think if you want to watch, you know, documentaries, racing movies, action movies, sure. If you can't find the movie worth watching 28 Days Later, I don't think that zombie movies are your thing, because the elements that make a good zombie movie isn't, low budget or this or that or the other. It is kind of the spirit of the formula that George A. Romero set out to make. And if you apply that to this, it really does feel like, even though he didn't want to be associated with it, he followed that formula to a T. He made, the movie, that George A. Romero probably just didn't ever get to make. But moving on. Now, this is one you're all going to know. Train to Busan. I do not feel like this needs much explanation. This is probably one of the most seen zombie movies in the world. It all focuses on a man trying to basically save his daughter, and they're on a train going to Busan. That is the whole thing. It sounds like a very simple concept, but it is emotionally rich, very deep, very gut-wrenching, very terrifying, because Asian horror is just so good at making you feel like any of the characters can die. It in a lot of Western stuff, it's like, oh, that's the main character. She's a girl. She's gonna live. It is like that. In these movies, absolutely not. A lot of big name actors, a lot very. They put these fucking I'm gonna tell you this. They put these actors through their fucking paces. When you see them sweating, that's real. Oh man, they made these dudes run and scream and lose their shit, and it's horrifying, and it's realistic, and it just makes you, it has you on the edge of your seat, because you really never know what's going to happen. And I do like movies like that a lot. Obviously, it has fantastic reviews, but I do like a movie that sometimes you're sitting there and you go, oh, are they going to live? But every now and then, we have those. It's just like the Western thing of, okay, well, there's a kid, so the kid has to live, and oh, that's his mom, so she lives, and oh, and that's that military guy they found, and he's been leading them through this whole thing because he's got to save them, because he's got to live, right? And I don't particularly like that very much. I think all of your characters should be at the same level. I think you should kill off characters people love. I think that it sends a strong emotional message, and I think that zombie movies really aren't supposed to have second movies, right? And I think zombie movies are the perfect vehicle for delivering that kind of, you're not making it out of this alive, kind of gut-wrenching, seeing them run down a hallway and trip, and you're like, get up, bitch, run. So anyway, this is again one of the bigger zombie movies. If you don't like this, again, it is, I cannot stress this enough. Zombie movies are not your thing. There are tons of movies out there that will absolutely be your thing. This will not be one of them if you don't like it. This is textbook zombies. This is no bull fucking around. Absolutely textbook. Perfect. Here's one that I want to talk about. Moving on. The Girl with All the Gifts. This one absolutely caught me by surprise. I was not expecting this to be a zombie movie. It did not look like a zombie movie. The trailer did not act like it's a zombie movie. I really was just looking around, and on all these lists and going through different lists on different streaming sites, and this one just kept popping up. And every time I seen it, and every time it played the little intro thing when you hover over a movie, I was like, well, this isn't a zombie movie, but it is absolutely a zombie movie. I am not going to spoil anything because I think that this movie needs to be, and do not look up anything about this movie, barely watch the trailer. If you trust me by this point, I would say go into this blind like I did and get the full fucking experience, because it's going to really set with you very differently. And it's got good actors. It's got really good actors. Came out of nowhere for me. A lot of emotional depth, a lot of like, I will say this, children being in a movie, and especially a zombie movie, is not rare, but it's really pushed down. Even when you see a child zombie, even that, the imagery pushes something kind of inside you, a button. But mostly they try to avoid that button, right? With this movie, they push that button so fucking unbelievably hard that it makes you question a lot of things. So, I want most of you to go in blind and just watch this. I promise, especially, this is one of the better ones considering the ending. A lot of zombie movies have a very unsatisfying ending. I don't know why that is, but it's just like they can't really conclude it, or make a sequel. And it's good. It's a good movie. Watch it. Tell me what you think. If I've helped you, tell me what you think. And we're gonna move on here to The Return of the Living Dead. Now, this is going to be 1985. This is going to be a classic. Why am I putting this on this list, even though I know probably all of you have watched it? Well, I don't really know who's watching this. It could be people who are young and just got into zombie movies. It could be someone who is in their 30s and 40s and weren't allowed to watch this stuff when they were younger. But I will just say this. It's classic. It's a good watch, although it is it's got some scenes in it that the original stuff, because again, this is one of those that really aspired to be like the full George A. Romero experience, but it had some stuff in it that was not. It tried to take things in a different direction at the time when zombie movies were kind of really getting established, and it took some risks, I should say. Try not to spoil anything. It's a classic. It's a decent watch, and I think that's it. Horror comedy, by the way. I think that's all I'll say on it. If you've already seen it, tell people why you loved it in the comments. And we will move on to Dawn of the Dead. That's right, Dawn of the Dead. This is the 2004 Dawn of the Dead. If you're a mainstream movie lover, this will be every single thing that you think a zombie movie would be. It's got good acting. It's got high budget for this one. Very high budget for the time. Very set up, very textbook. This is a very templated, this is how it happens. This is what happens. This is your templated zombie movie. You can't go wrong with a formula like this, right? This is absolutely everything you could want in a zombie movie. And if you're a mainstream lover, it's a horror action. It's got a lot of good scenes in it, and this is something that you will not regret watching. If you're just sort of kind of a casual zombie person that really wants to watch a higher budget film and doesn't want to watch like a lot of low budget stuff, this is absolutely perfect for you. Great reviews, a little bit of controversy. The movie does do a few weird things. There's a little controversy surrounding it when it came out. I think it aged better than it was on release. I think on release, a long time ago, they came out with a 10-minute preview on TV that you could tune into. And I think a lot of people took that and went to the bank with it, so to speak, where they planned to go see it. Because what they did was very different at the time. A lot of people were not putting 10-minute previews of the first of the film on TV. Okay. And that preview got people so interested, that they went and seen it. And a lot of them were disappointed. I don't think at this stage, I feel like zombie films were declining, but I do feel like they expected a lot more than what they got. But overall, it's a very good mainstream film. So even if you're a casual fan, you'll like it. You'll find the value in it. But again, just keep in mind that, it's definitely not the original. And speaking of the original, moving on. Dawn of the Dead, 1978. Now, this is something to talk about. This is the original. And it is, for more or less, do I want to say morally superior? Look, it's a good movie. It's definitely, switch back. It's a good movie. Okay. I would not say, how do I describe this so people can understand the differences between the two? This one was fuller. It had a lot more moving parts. It wasn't as segmented and broken up into this template. It really had a lot of different things going on, a lot of different ideas going on. It still revolves around a mall, but it has a lot more moving pieces. And quite frankly, it feels like a longer, more satisfying movie that goes different places instead of like filming a ton of shots in like a parking garage. And that's like 20% of your movie. They really do move to different places. They move around in the film. I think movement is really good for zombie movies. I do not like when they're hunkered. If there's not something going on, I feel like it's a cheap way to do a zombie movie. Like if you had a zombie movie set in like a cabin and the cabin was in the woods, and you got snippets of the story through the stuff that they were doing in the cabin, and like there was like not really that many zombies. You could film a film that's very low budget and good, but the reality is like there won't be a ton of movement, there won't be a ton. It'll be more rely on the acting and the character development. In this, I think that this Dawn of the Dead is superior to the remake because of the way that they managed to take a mall and something like that and expand it to be a very movement-oriented, planned, detailed, like characters are making plans, and it's like it feels very expansive even though they're just in a mall. And the best way to do it, I think, is just to watch it and experience it for yourself. But again, no spoilers, but it still does go over topics in a more lighthearted manner than the remake does. So it really depends on what your preference is. If you really don't like older movies, I'd skip it. I'd skip it. It's hard for me to say that because it's such a base piece of film that skipping it is like, oh, you missed out on the good times. You know, you could still go to the good times. But if you like more mainstream stuff, maybe not for you. I will say that obviously zombie makeup and realism and gore and all that stuff have developed over the years, and like what you're allowed to show on movies and the topics you're allowed to touch on. I think sensibilities have changed over time. So it might be one of those things that's hard to watch for you, but I still think that it holds up and it is a good experience. Now, we're moving on to World War Z. Now, this is a absolute mainstream buffet. If you like mainstream zombie movies, you're going to cream your pants over World War Z. Now, I know that this thing got like decent reviews and a lot of people talk about it, but I'm going to talk about a little bit of some friction for a second. I'm sorry to kill your mood. Now, everyone that I know that doesn't even like zombie movies has said that they watched World War Z. People who don't even watch zombie movies have seen World War Z. Why is that? Well, fucking Brad Pitt's in it. Now, they were supposed to do a second one. They never did. I don't know what the fuck happened to that shit. But maybe it's good that they didn't. I will say this. The book, and I'm sorry to be this guy. I don't want to be this guy. The book was better than the movie. And I think that the people who read the book, like me, audiobook, I listened to it, when they heard that there was a World War Z movie coming out, and this might account for some of the reviews and some of the really dedicated fans to this franchise, when they heard that a World War Z movie was coming out, they got excited. I know I did. I was absolutely frothing at the mouth, waiting. What we got was an action hero movie with a side concept of zombies in a way we've never seen them before. Almost superhuman zombies that build towers out of their people and are faster than humans possibly can be. You know, anyway, I think it's not unrealistic to say that while it did borrow a lot from the book, you know, the way the zombies move, and while it did get people excited, I'm gonna point out what the book was. I'm gonna tell you what the book was, and then that'll inform you on why it got bad reviews and why people don't like it. Now, there are other things which we'll go into, but the book revolved around a reporter going around and talking to people and getting their interviews. And you could say that the book that you're reading is the book that he was writing in a way. But he was going around and he was getting interviews. And then they would flash back to those scenes of, you know, the zombie apocalypse has already happened at this point. And he went around traveling around the world and talking to different people and getting their perspectives on what happened, tracking the outbreak pretty much. And the book would have been such a better movie than the movie that they made. Now, do I think you should watch it? I think it's not bad. I think that as far as zombie movies go, there are, and I take this from experience, I've been there, hundreds of movies that are worse than this. I think what people expected drove the score down, And I think that maybe even Brad Pitt being in it hurt the movie. People that never would have gone to see a zombie movie went to see zombie movies, and it did create that kind of zombie craze. It like picked back up really hard after this movie, and I think it left fans of World War Z very unsatisfied though. So you had it hitting from both sides, right? The movie's writing was kind of like, I don't know, very action movie oriented and not zombie movie oriented like it should have been. But it was getting hit from both sides. People who'd never seen zombie movies went to see it, you know, because of Brad Pitt and the promotion for it. And then people who wanted to see it because of the book went to see it, and that clashed with the people who actually enjoyed it in the middle. And quite frankly, no one can agree. But if you were someone who's never even seen a zombie movie, you've probably seen this and was like, oh, that's decent. And it was decent. But a lot of controversy, a lot of crap, dude. And a lot of loopholes, a lot of it felt rushed. That's a good word for it. It felt rushed. But do I think people should watch it? Yeah. I think you should give it a shot. I think that opinions can be opinions all day long, but like, honestly, you might watch it and really love it and not have any care. You don't care about the director. You don't care about the fucking actor. You just want to see the movie. And that's absolutely okay. But I am trying to explain my point of view on it. But I do not want to discourage anyone. Anyway, moving on. The Crazies. How to describe the Crazies. This is one that is a little bit out there. There's a small town. There's a virus. Would I call it a zombie virus? This is one of those where it's like a little bit necessary to hear me out on. I would not describe it as a zombie virus, but it is, for all intents and purposes, a zombie virus. Now, the beginning of the movie, this is not a spoiler. This guy is, they think, is traumatized, but what happened? Essentially, he gets arrested. His house burnt down. His kid and his wife were inside, I think. And really, again, not a spoiler. This happens in the first of the movie. And basically, that happens. They have some kind of neurological thing. Think of it like 28 Days Later, only much weirder, much creepier, more ominous than anything. I think that this is an out there film, and I don't think it quite hits the zombie target. But again, it has decent people in it, and I just think it belongs on the list, because I think that there's a high enough chance that people have never seen it, and a high enough chance that people will like it. Pretty much none of the titles, except for a few, got under a 50%. Okay, well, most of them are above 50%. Most of them didn't get under 60%, and I tried to keep it within the realm of, you know, real zombie movies. But Crazies is a weird one, even for me. I liked it when I watched it, and I think enough people would like it that I included on the list. But it is like an infection movie more than an outbreak movie more than it is a zombie movie, if that makes any sense. Like a medical emergency hits this town, and I don't know about the ending though. That's going to be a tough one. I think it's worth a watch. Moving on. Shaun of the Dead. I think a lot of people knew that this was going to be on the list, just like a few of these others. Shaun of the Dead is the almost, I feel like, in some ways, the original uh, zombie comedy. Like, I feel like for me, when I'm thinking back, I know that there was a few before, but they never really touched base, you know? They never really pushed into like hey, this is mainstream, and it depends, you know. There's Army of Darkness. Does that count as a zombie movie? You know, how far out are we going? I think that Shaun of the Dead is like one of the more original ideas that came up before anyone else started to do it. Now, we know that after Shaun of the Dead, there was, you know, movies like Zombie Strippers and stuff like that, which is not on this list. Do not watch the movie. I know it's funny. I get that, but House of the Dead's not even on this list. So I think we're at that stage where I just need to tell you some of the movies that you think are really funny. They can be really funny, but they're not going to make this list. You know, something that's hilariously bad but planned to be bad. You know, it's like From Dusk Till Dawn, for instance, meant to be like that, and it sold really well. Shaun of the Dead, one of the more original ones. It, you know, follows Simon Pegg here, just being a normal, the most normal guy that you could ever find, just going to work, trying to live his life, and the zombie apocalypse happens, and they have to. Oh my god, it is honestly one of the best zombie comedies that you can watch. And that's fair, it was the original. Good reviews. I don't think I need to talk on this very much, though, honestly, right? I think we're all in agreement that, you know, we've seen it, we loved it, it is what it is. Moving on. So here's one, Army of the Dead. Now, let's look here. We are getting dangerously close to the Hear Me Out. This might have needed to be in the Hear Me Out, but I will say this. If you like your mainstream shit, this is good for you. If you like the comedy aspect, this is good for you. If you like the action aspect, this is good for you. It has a lot of big name people, and it has a lot of the classic tropes, and it has a lot of like, I will say this, you won't expect what happens in this movie. Even if you try to predict it, you'll be wrong. Okay? You'll absolutely be wrong. Like, I could not have predicted this movie. I thought it was just your average, like, hey, let's make a zombie movie. And it's not, dude. I couldn't have predicted this movie if you had paid me like a shitload of money, because my guesses were all wrong. It was like every 5 minutes that I just had my mouth open going like, what the fuck? You know, like, they did that? So I think because of the uniqueness of this, and because the people that they were able to pull, and the acting is very clever. Think of a bank heist movie where there's a bank heist and they describe their plan before they go in, but literally nothing goes right. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong. And that's never more evident than this film. I was not expecting them to do the stuff that they did. They made all of the characters seem so sure of themselves and flawless that I just assumed that the movie was going to go just a totally different way. But they went so big with it. The personalities in this are so amazing. Like, they're well written and they're cheesy, but it just strikes you a certain way. where you're like very pleased with it. Now, on the reviews, lackluster. I think if you like mainstream stuff, you'll like this. If you're a zombie fan, you'll like this. It's hard not to like, even though that those reviews say differently. But it is not one you should get attached to. It's not one that you should look at as an example for other movies. They did a totally unique thing. I want you to think of Borderlands zombie movie. That'll sum it up for you right there. Borderlands zombie movie. Think about that. Moving on. Overlord. Now, this one's a little annoying to find. You have to type in Overlord 2018. This is another one of those Nazi zombie movies. It is one of the better ones, and it is very well done. I assumed that the budget for this was low, and I was wrong. I feel like it must have been much higher than I thought. This has a bunch of actors in it that are super well known now. They weren't necessarily super well known in 2018. This movie did very good with people. Okay. The costumes are perfect. The lighting is perfect. The film quality is perfect. This movie, no matter how over the top or silly of a concept it might seem, essentially it's D-Day, American paratroopers drop behind enemy lines, penetrate the walls of a fortified church, destroy a radio transmitter. As the soldiers approach their target, they soon realize that there's more going on to this Nazi-occupied village than a simple military operation, making their way to an underground lab. It's always a fucking underground lab or in a castle or some shit, right? With these Nazi zombie movies. The outnumbered men stumble upon a sinister experiment that forces them into a vicious battle against an army of the undead. I will say this. Castle Wolfenstein zombie movie. That's what it feels like. And it hits good. It's like video game zombie movie in my mind. It feels good though. The acting's great. There's a lot of stuff that mixes it up. They don't follow like the normal tropes. And they do a really good job. I will say the movie feels slow in some parts, and the ending is a really hard thing for any movie. Maybe you'd be happy with the ending, maybe you won't. I think it's worth the watch. I think if you like video games, like Doom and Wolfenstein, that you will appreciate this film more than others. It definitely has a very, it's funny. This film has a very 2000s aesthetic in 2018. I don't know how they filmed it, but I think that they borrowed a few tricks that I loved back in the day, made the film look a lot more authentic and real and just vibrant in the places it needed to be. Very good film. Very decent, I should say. You should definitely watch this one. Moving on. Zombieland. Now, I am not going to talk too much on this. If you are alive, you know what this movie is. Zombieland is a fucking... It's a mainstream zombie movie's wet dream. Okay? If you like mainstream zombie movies and you don't care much about regular zombie movies, you will absolutely just cream yourself over this. You'll laugh, you'll die, you'll come back again, you'll shoot yourself, you'll laugh, you'll die again. This is this is your quirky, like, I'm on Twitter zombie movie. Okay? This is like what people think of when they think of like socially awkward teen apocalypse. And it's got this fucker in it. This guy right here. That's that fucking Facebook guy in it. Anyway, I don't know all movies he in, but he does the same character every time. It really gets under my skin. I don't know why. I think he just acts the same way every time. But I will say this. It's I don't want to, dude. It's not like it's a comedy, okay, but it's like a cheesy romantic comedy wrapped in a zombie uniform. Like, I don't know. I am not a big fan of Zombieland. When it came out, I didn't know what to expect, and I definitely, this is one of those that when I'm having conversations about zombie movies with people, they bring this one up and I'm like, dude, I'm over it. Like, I don't care about this film. I thought it was cool that Bill Murray was in it. I thought it was cool that, but this wasn't made for people who like zombie movies. This was really made for a way to profit off the times, profit off the success of Shaun of the Dead. And it's, they got the right people for the job. Woody Harrelson absolutely is the best thing in this entire movie and carries the entire movie. Very comedic. It's got the horror elements where it needs to. But this fucking guy is just a gooner. I would say most people will like it though. This will appeal to most people. It doesn't appeal to me because I get hung up on the acting and the writing and just like the cliche of it. And it's like, I didn't want a rom-com in my zombie, right? But you didn't know what to expect from the trailer, and it was a very highly pushed movie, so I saw it anyway. They have a second one that did not so great, because people knew what to expect the second time around. But moving on, we go to Day of the Dead. Now, I'm going to sit here and talk about Day of the Dead for a second, and I'm so sorry about that. This is 1985. Now, is this the best movie ever made? No. Is this an extremely well-made zombie movie for the time? Fucking absolutely. The way that they tell the story and the way that they outline the story and the set pieces they use, and especially the way that the story opens up and you kind of see where they are, what they're doing. They have a chopper. They're looking for survivors. They're doing the whole bit, right? For me, it feels so like this is a fucking zombie movie, dude. This is perfect. And it makes you think. It really makes you think. It's a very deep film. Again, George A. Romero. I'm gonna say something super controversial, and you can put me on a cross and you can nail me to it, and that's fine. George A. Romero made a lot of movies, and he defined an entire genre. But in the beginning, my opinion, in the beginning, without very little money and without very little recognition, and with the few $100s that he had in his pocket, yes, he made one of the first movies that we would consider like a true zombie movie. Do I think that that was his best work? No. I don't think just because that was somebody's first film that it should be considered the best film that they've ever made. I know it's given a lot of credit because he did it on a shoestring budget and he included, people of color. He did a lot of things outside the box, okay? And even him, like, it was non-traditional all the way. That man should have never gotten the opportunity to do this, but he did it. And I think we put a lot of stock in the original movie, and we talk about it and we say, wow, this is an incredible piece of film. But I think in the beginning, it was disorganized. It told the story the best way it could, and obviously he did what he could at the time. But his later works, where he really perfected his formula, and when he really got the idea of what he's going to do, and that he's now well known and has connections and can get people that are true actors that believe in his vision and all this, I think that this movie is one of his better movies, in my opinion. In my opinion, everything about this film comes together in a kind of coalescence. It's a good fucking film. It's a good idea. And it shows you what people are going through and the emotional trauma in a way that really makes sense, and it's not played up, and it doesn't, these people are all living underground together, and they're in a tight space, and they have to see each other every day. And, people's shit gets tiring. Well, we don't really see this or have the time to see this with a lot of other zombie movies, where they don't have time to explore that aspect. A lot of zombie movies rush through things or use action as a way to, and I say action as in movement, okay? Should I focus on a character dialogue, or should I just show somebody running down a hallway, and which one would excite you more? For some people, it's just, movement. They just want to see movement. They want to see scene changes. They want to see people run down a hallway, then something touches on the glass, and then they go, and then they run the other way. Some people want to see character development within that space. About like, dude, what are they going through? Like, what are they thinking? And they blend all of that perfectly together with the idea of what they're doing being very nuanced in this film. And this is an older film. And I don't mind it when people say, well, like, I don't like watching older movies. That's totally fine. I will say this one is up there. I'm sorry I'm giving so much time to this film, but I think for me, this is one of those special ones where I saw it just at the perfect time, that I have a lot of nostalgia for it, and I think that it's very well crafted. And I feel bad for the actors, for the stuff that they went through in filming. And I feel like a lot of these men and a lot of these people who put their time and effort into these should have been much bigger than they were. And, it's a shame. And then, a lot of these guys are getting older and they're dying. I think it's just a real fucking shame that, people didn't, if you're in something like this at that time, maybe they wouldn't have seen you as somebody who could handle a real film. George A. Romero was a little bit of a little wacky dude, but I'm just saying it's a good watch. Moving on. Good God, I had to move on to this after that. Warm Bodies, 2013. This is a romance horror. Yes, I said a romance horror. Jesus fucking Christ. I had to add this to the list. The reason I did is because it has really good reviews. I personally do not like this film. I thought it was really annoying. Oh man. I don't know. I'm not going to spoil it, but I am going to say this. This is our main actor. He is a zombie. This is his friend. His friend is a zombie. That is who we follow around. Now, he is a zombie. How would he have a romantic relationship with a female? Well, they go through that. I personally think this is such a stupid movie. And I know some of you right now are going to be offended at that. And I totally understand. Why I think it's a stupid movie? It's got fucking John Malkovich in it. It's got Dave Franco. It's got people in it that, like, damn, I should have loved this, right? but it's just such a stupid concept, and you won't find any other movie like it because it's one of a kind. Now, do I think that it has its own merits? Yes. But would I call this a traditional zombie movie? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Not even a comedy. Because it's not a comedy, it's a romance. And like, yeah, there's always the jokes in different movies, where they're like fucking a zombie, and like, I get it. A lot of people make jokes all the time about that. But I will say this, not for me, not for me. People might think it's quirky and romantic and fun and it's different, it's a change of pace and whatever. If you've seen 100 of these, this is its only one of the only ones where this is this is the story. I can see the merits in it, and I don't think that nobody should just say, oh, well, I'm not going to watch it because he made it seem real bad. Watch the trailer. All I will say is, I got it. If you liked iZombie, you'll probably like this. I'm such a piece of shit. Anyway, moving on. This one's called Record, or REC. It's 2007. It means record. I don't know why they chose that as a title. Possibly because she's recording the whole time. This is another one that a lot of people liked, and it had like 3 or 4 sequels. I'm not kidding. That I didn't like. And part of the reason why I didn't like it is because it's done on this camcorder style. I don't like the camcorder style, but another part of the reason that I don't like it is that they try to sell the main actress by being this like cute lady who's in sweaty, and it's in like clothing, and I feel like if you're gonna I don't personally care for the tits out horror. Okay, I prefer just a good movie. I mean, I don't need Megan Fox to be in my zombie movie. I don't need to be like, oh well, the movie is this, but look at her. Like, I don't need that. I prefer it just to be a good movie. You have stuff like, Aliens, and you have stuff like The Thing, and then you see those women, and you're like, okay, this is more realistic. I like this. But then you see, these kind of movies, and it's not exactly about women. They could do this with men too. It just seems to be like the horror thing to do, is that, women are somehow just lose this clothing through the film. And I'm like, dude, I don't care. I don't care. Like, it just annoys me. Because like you could totally watch this movie with a male lead and just do better on the film, really. But people might criticize me for this, and I'm sorry. It's not that I dislike women. It's not that I dislike women in my film. It's not like I dislike women in, because I watched Resident Evil, didn't I? And that whole movie is literally just her. But I will say that this movie, the camcorder style is just not for me. I will say that a lot of people thought it was good, and I know that they think it's good, and that is totally fine. I find the pacing of it to be weird. I'm trying to get some reviews here. I find the pacing of it to be weird, and it's got stellar reviews. But I'm one of those people who didn't really like any of those movies. In this era, they had a lot of like, oh, we're filming it, that translated to YouTube later on, where that that aspect of it was really popular. Um it's like people who don't watch horror like at all. They're just like, ooh, it's spooky. It's on a they're filming it. It's like the Blair Witch Project, and like they get this weird rush over seeing it filmed on whatever garbage. And it is garbage. The film quality is terrible on all of those movies, and you can't say it's not. It is terrible. Some of them genuinely are filmed on like camcorders from like I don't even know. But either way, she breaks into a building and she regrets it. That is the entire movie. Because I get that some of you, I'm losing the plot here. I get it. I get that some of you will not be happy that I did not like this, but I will say you've got 4 movies if you do like it, and not all of them are the same. I don't think it doesn't do its job. I just don't think, I think it falls a little far outside of the zombie aspect for me. But it's not like it doesn't do its job. It does provide you with horror aspect. And I guess it says horror action because it does provide you with the action aspect. I would just say there's not a lot of like exploration, and there's not a lot of like, I hate to say it, and it's going to be weird for some people, but it feels very Human Centipede-esque, where the film is just like lower quality and the story is like whatever, and it's very very set on these few characters. But if you liked like Paranormal Activity and all that, I just don't like those films, and that's a me problem. That's not a you problem. Moving on. Horde, 2009. Well, The Horde, I should say. This movie came out of nowhere. I do not know who made this movie, but this team of police officers are hunting a violent gang in Paris, discovered an apartment block overrun by zombies. Okay, this is a French movie. And when I heard this was a French movie, I said to myself, French horror? Weird. A French zombie movie? Even weirder. Like totally weird, totally out there. And I found it while just scrolling around. And apparently it's a lot of places for free. I found it while scrolling around. I think that this one is niche because it does that thing where if you watch it in English, because I do believe it has English, that it's that thing where the speaking doesn't necessarily match up to the people. And while that is fine, this is not your typical zombie movie. It all takes place in an apartment block, and it kind of goes over what's happening around them in the city and things like that. It's very gritty. It's very gritty and like feels very real, feels very like nasty and real, and like I'm going to tell you this, those apartments need to be condemned. Those apartments are ass. I don't know who the fuck is living in absolute dog shit over there in France in these apartments. But I don't recommend it. I don't recommend. Even the zombies were like, ugh, dude. But I'm telling you right now, despite all of its problems, this is not like a huge budget. It has a very, dude, it has a very clean look. It's a very clean look, and it tells the story in a very clean way. But it is more or less like action horror. It's more or less like you're there for the action. It doesn't have a lot of building or dialogue or like whatever. And I saw this movie by absolute chance. Okay. It's definitely worth the watch, even though I think that I would say if you're a more mainstream person again, maybe it's a 50-50. I think that people could like it, but it has so many things against it where it's like, oh, it's foreign, you know, it's got to do the dub thing. Do you want to read it? Do you want to do subtitles? Like, it's got a lot of things going against it, but I really do feel like it deserves to be on this list because when I watched it, I was pleasantly surprised. I was expecting it to be much worse. The trailer and the artwork for it make it look so cringe, but like the actual movie presents itself in a really decent way. This is not going to be one that you get to the end and feel so satisfied about. This is more like, you know, I'm bored. I've watched everything. It's a good one to put on. I don't think you're going to be rewatching it that often, but I think it's worth the watch. Okay. We are officially into the Hear Me Out era. So moving on, this is The Returned, 2013. Not to be confused with the TV show. So I'll have to type in 2013 to get this. This one's going to be a bit of a stretch. Okay. I think most of you will hate this film. I think most people will not like this film. This is not your typical film. This is very, so we've got screenshots here. I'm going to explain the film. And this is no spoiler. There are people living in this universe, pretty much, where dead people can, like, zombies exist in a very, like, normal way. Like, people are still going to work. It's not an apocalypse. Dead people have been known to crop up every now and then, and they just get some cops to come and deal with it. But there are people who are returned, they call it, but there's a cure. There's a cure for the zombie plague. Now, once you turn, you're turned. That's it. But if they can get to you and use this cure, you have to take it every single day for the rest of your life. But the reason I like this movie is, one, I absolutely love this Chris Holden Reed guy. I love him as an actor. And there's like a few more people in here that are really decent. But this is, I wouldn't say super low budget, but it's very obvious that they did what they could, and they did it relatively well. The acting is decent because I think he's in it and I like him, and he's a really good actor, even though he's like one of those B actors, like sci-fi actors almost, that there's just a lot of people who they never get to blow up. They never get those big roles. And for whatever reason, he's one of those dudes. But, this movie has a really weird clinical way of looking at it. It's like everyone's still doing normal shit, everyone's still going, and you know, so I would say it's worth the watch if you really care about zombie movies and you want something a little slower and a little bit more um not run and gun going crazy, like everything exploding. Like if you just want like a good, just a just a really regular slow paced kind of zombie movie, um this is a big hear me out, I get that. It's not going to be for everybody. I would say, oh, it's going to be so 50-50. The trailer's really bad. It doesn't really tell you about the movie, but moving on. Now, okay. Okay. How do I approach this? I'm a little bitch. This movie is called Pride, Prejudice and Zombies. 2016. How do I approach this? It says it's a horror romance. It is not a horror romance. It is a horror action, pretending to be the Gilded Age. Pride and Prejudice was a good movie. Pride, Prejudice, and Zombies was a really good book that came out, and all they did was take Pride and Prejudice and add zombies. But they did more than that. They severely deviated from Pride and Prejudice. And not just because of the zombies, okay? Not just because of the zombies. And listen, guys, if you're watching till this point, go ahead and subscribe. YouTube is going to show you my stuff. I will say, yeah, I record unscripted, unfiltered through this whole thing. So if it feels like I'm thinking a lot, I am. Every one of these deserves its own piece, and I am sorry about that. This is going to be a long one. It's just going to have to be a long one, and I'm so sorry about that. I hope you guys watch it. I put a lot of time and effort into this, and I am so sorry. But this movie had a book. I recommend reading the book or audio book. I did the audio book. Obviously, I do a lot of audiobooks. I'm a fiend. The audiobook is much better. It's much better. And I think this is another one of those films that got trapped in the fact that it had a better book. It had a better book, and most of the people who wanted to see this are people who read the book. And even though it had Matt Smith is in this, which is crazy. It has so many good actors in this, and everyone plays their roles fucking phenomenally. It centers around sisters who have a father, and he wants them to marry so that they can own stuff, because they can't own anything unless they marry. And he just is trying to do the best he can in a zombie apocalypse. Now, the way that the movie is set up is that the country, if you know what Attack on Titan is, very similar. They set up these safety things, and they have a bridge, and that one bridge is connected, and they can go out. It's set in the UK. What's more stuff? So they have to learn how to defend themselves. So people either learn, like Chinese or Japanese martial arts and things like that. It's a badass movie. It's an absolutely badass movie, and it has really dynamic characters, and it has a very it's a fun and playful atmosphere, but it really does. I cannot describe how well everything works together. you feel like you're in a really well thought out play. It's like a play. But it, dude, it's obviously it's a zombie movie and it does have zombies. Well, the zombies in this film are not regular zombies, okay? They are thinking, they can pretend to be who they used to be. Obviously, like they're rotting, like maybe like some of them don't know that they're zombies, but the whole rule is like if you're infected, then your family needs to go ahead and deal with that. But dude, I don't want to spoil anything because I really do think that even though it does not have good reviews, that people might like it if they gave it a chance. I think if you do love a good romance, like I actually like The Gilded Age. You can roast me for that in the comments if you want. But if you like that kind of like period piece humor and banter and wit and dialogue, and you like that developed sense of like what's going on, very comedic, dude, very it's very clean in everything that it does. People probably hated it mainly because it didn't follow the book. The book, had that been directly turned into a movie, would have been, it would have been like 10 times better. Especially the opening scene of the book is at a wedding, and it is not the opening scene of this where they are in some parlor, and it introduces the first character. Again, I don't want to spoil anything. I will say this. I don't know what to compare it to. I don't know what I can compare it to. Because there's not many films like it. And you would think that the zombies part doesn't like really work with this whole theme, but my god, it absolutely does. The characters, costume designs, the sets, how everything works out it's very, very good. The twists and turns and like surprises in it, so fucking clean. I don't know why people hated it. But if you can see here, it's like how close was Pride and Prejudice Zombies to the original, and I talk about the book. I really do think that when you make a book for a very specific audience, you gotta at least adapt it to the book. They changed a few things, but I still love this movie. I absolutely love this, adore this movie. I think people should give it a shot. If you don't like it, it's not for you. That's totally fine. That's my bad. I don't want to push my opinions on other people, but I will say I fucking love this movie, dude. And if you love this movie, tell me in the comments, because that will make my day. Make this whole thing worth it. Moving on, Resident Evil. What to say about Resident Evil? Should we even consider this a zombie movie? Well, I think the first one is, right? The first one is definitely a zombie movie. My whole thing with Resident Evil is that it started as a zombie thing, and as we've seen over the years, it kind of moved away from that. It's not really a zombie thing anymore, is it? It's like a mutant thing, and then there's like worms in people's heads or whatever. It's moved further away from zombie stuff. I will say for at least the first one, the first Resident Evil, I thought it was clean. Thought it was really good. Thought it was worth the watch. Other than that, it is, as far as the movies go, maybe the first and second one, but like even that's a stretch. I would just say to each their own. Go in at your own risk. I still had to include it, regardless of what I think about the series as a whole. I still needed to include it because I feel like, is this list complete without something like this on it? Like, am I just being intentionally, mischievous if I don't include it? I think it's a classic classic game. But the games and movies do depart pretty heavily from what we think of as a zombie movie. It is unique in its own right, I guess. I kind of fell off, and then obviously they had that TV show, and that was terrible. It is what it is. I think it's not her fault. She didn't write the fucking movies. She's just in them. I think definitely the first one's worth the watch. I don't know about the rest. It's like 50-50. I think there's a definite decline in the movies. And I think people mainly saw them because it says Resident Evil. What are you going to do? It's a popular franchise. Now, moving on. I Am Legend 2007. Now, we are definitely in the depths of the Hear Me Out. Is this a zombie movie? Well, we have these poorly animated, whatever they are. And whatever anyone says, I want to remind everyone. This movie originally, the first movie was called The Omega Man. And do I think that that's a zombie movie? No. The Omega Man was also, because this was based off of it, wildly so far departed from this movie. So different. Absolutely different in so many ways that you can barely consider them the same movie, except for the concept of this guy's alone, maybe. Now, I don't care what people think nowadays, okay? I get Will Smith is in it, and people are going to have their controversies about that. When this movie came out, it was big. Why? Man, I have no fucking clue. It came out at the right time. It had Will Smith in it, and back then, he was absolutely adored. It was a piece that he did where he played a serious role, and I think a lot more people gravitated. He'd done comedy for so long that a serious role was nice because he started doing some of those at this time, and it just hit, and it made a ton of money. Made an absolutely ridiculous ton of money, and people liked it. People thought it was all right. They didn't like the dog scene. Now, this isn't spoiling anything. I'm sorry about that. But he is a dude, and there's infection, and he's alone, and that's the whole movie. Now, it sounds pretty simple, but it's actually pretty dynamic in the case of he might have caused it, right? It got good, it's got good reviews. I wanted to include it because I felt like there's a lot of edge cases to zombie films, okay? And I think this is one of those edge cases where it's like, yeah, it's not a traditional zombie film, but it did very well, and it follows the same format. So how can we push it to the side and say it doesn't need to be on the list? Very hard to do. Very hard to do. Moving on. We have Slither. Now, again, we're in the depths of the Hear Me Out. Slither is not a typical zombie movie, but it's more like kind of body taking over-esque. It's got Michael Rooker in it. People love him. I think it's worth a watch. Decent-ish reviews. If you love horror and you love zombie movies, you may really like this one. Directed by James Gunn. This is back when he was more unknown. That's why it's got Michael Rooker in it. They were friends for a very long time. This movie kind of came out of nowhere. I don't think it was meant to do as good as it did, but it did good. A lot of people were talking about it a long time ago. I will just say this: slugs take people over, make people into zombie-esque creatures. This part of the video again is the hear me out stage. So I'm saying hear me out. This may make you feel like you're watching a zombie movie, and it may be worth putting on this list. But we're going to move on from Slither. Oh, shit. Okay. This is on the list. No one should watch this movie. This made the list because of various reasons. It's called Deadgirl. It's 2008. A lot of you will not want to watch this movie. This is a zombie movie in the aspect of two teenage boys discovered an imprisoned woman in an abandoned mental asylum who cannot die. She is a zombie. We know she is a zombie because of the details that happen in the movie. But, dude, I'll say this. Don't watch the movie. That's fine. I'm putting it on this list. Absolutely don't watch this movie. You're not going to like it. You see this 33%? That's there for a reason. And 40%, and, I'm not going to show you the comments. I'm going to tell you this. She is a dead girl, and they're teenage boys. I cannot say more than that without breaching a lot of... It is what it is, right? So we're moving on. Ghosts of Mars. This is one of my all-time favorite movies. This is not a movie for everybody. Okay? Ghosts of Mars is one of my all-time favorite movies for a various amount of reasons. One of the reasons is I'm a weirdo and I like films with unknown actors that go on to be famous. And this one is jam fucking packed to the brim with actors that were not famous at all. Well, they were. So they were famous. Ice Cube is the most famous person in this at this time. Well, and Pam Grier. I don't know. Had the girl who played in Faculty. I don't know how to correctly say it, but it also had the guy who played the dad in Lizzie McGuire, which was nuts. He was in Proximity. The dad from Lizzie McGuire was in a movie with Jason Statham. This is back when Jason Statham was nothing. Wasn't even typecasted yet. And he was in this movie, and no one really knew him. And this is a John Carpenter's movie. Now, I like John Carpenter. Okay? I think he's like, old and bitchy and whatever. And I get it. Hate him, love him, whatever. I think regardless, he cared about his films. Regardless of anything else, he cared about his films. This film, for the budget of $28 million, is so jam-packed with amazing set pieces, with attention to detail, with beautiful camera changes, beautiful scene changes. He does... I usually hate when people tell, the ending first, and then it brings you back to how that happened. But he does it in a way in this where these characters split up, and you see it from both of their perspectives. And, the story makes sense because they're telling each other the story because they weren't there. And I think, for me, this is not a zombie movie per se, but what essentially happens is there's an archaeological dig, and there's a mining crew, and one of the scientists finds this, they're on Mars, and they find a tomb or something. Anyway, she opens it, and what escapes is spirits that can possess bodies that become zombie-like creatures, as shown here. These are not... These are not your super typical zombies, and, they don't necessarily infect people. And this, has a little bit of a loophole problem, a little bit of inconsistency within it, but I'm just saying It's one of my favorite films, and don't I don't quite know why. I've never really looked up why other people hated it. I just know that it's not the most loved film. It's not the most loved film, and I get it is what it is. People have different preferences. I will say this: it's decent. It's very decent. It was very well put together for the time, for the budget, the amount of scene changes, the amount of costumes, the amount of putting effort into making the world real and feel good. Insane, top tier, absolutely. People get away all the time with doing these low budget, shitty movies and saying, well, it's low budget. It's supposed to look like that. And just so they can spend less money. But I'm telling you, when people take that low budget, I'm going to tell you this right now. 28 Days Later is a low budget movie, and they didn't skimp on a fucking thing. They didn't skimp on a fucking thing. And Ghosts of Mars does really good with its budget. Is it super believable? No. I mean, listen, this was the 2000s. A lot of weird shit came out in the 2000s. A lot of experimenting went on with different types of film. You have The Matrix, listen, I'm not going to sit here and name them all, but I am saying the 2000s was a time of especially experimentation in horror. You want to look at one, go look up Uzumaki in the 2000s. That is a quintessential horror 2000s. It got redone recently, but it is what it is. I would say that the 2000s look just feels so good to look at. Some of the scenes and some of the way, like, I really love, the way like Starship Troopers looked and stuff like that. Just the way that they got the lighting and the way that they captured it on film. Whereas if you look at like a more modern film, man, they always just have this certain look to them. And very few people can get that look down that I really like nowadays. And, even when you can, doesn't mean the film is going to be good. I really felt like Hollywood used to be more of a Wild West situation where people were taking risks. They're taking a lot less risks now. Now, anyway, I'm going to stop talking about this film. I have a whole nother video on it. You can watch that. Getting off track. I love what I love, and I'm so sorry about that. Okay. This next one is Land of the Dead. Now, I know what you're thinking. Land of the Dead? Land of the Dead is in the Hear Me Out? Well, here's the thing. I feel like a lot of people didn't like Land of the Dead. And I feel like some of the people that were in Land of the Dead, people don't like anymore. And I feel like Land of the Dead, even though it was a George A. Romero film, if you had to rank all of the George A. Romero films, Land of the Dead is going to be suspiciously low on that list. And I think, look, I like the film. And the real reason it's really on this Hear Me Out situation is a lot of people didn't. And I don't blame them for that. I think it is what it is. The movie was simple, did really good with the set design, did really good setting up the world, did really good building. I mean, they built a fucking tank for the movie, a fucking car for the movie, a real one. It was made out of like fucking metal and stuff. I don't know if it's here, but no spoilers. This one is your textbook, absolute textbook zombie movie. They go through the simple stages of, talking about outbreak, talking about, we got a safe place to stay, becomes unsafe. They go through the whole thing. This one is very easy to digest if you love zombie movies. Why it did so bad, I would assume that the story was kind of meh. The ending was kind of eh. They introduced the thing of which you're not supposed to do, the thinking zombies. At this time, thinking zombies was like taboo, right? No one wanted to see, oh, there's a smart one. How did that happen? It was very taboo at the time, I think, to have the thinking zombie trope. Now, more in today's newer stuff, it's like more accepted because they were like, well, how do we take a zombie to like the next level? And like, oh, what if they could think? That was one of those whole things. Now, these really aren't spoilers. All this stuff happens pretty early in the film. It didn't have much of a budget, but I'm telling you, I think it's an overlooked one that people would really like if they gave it a chance. And quite frankly, I don't think a lot of people seen it. I don't think they did. And I don't think that since it wasn't their big commercial success that his other movies, a few of them were, it just didn't get the love it deserved. I will say, like, the acting isn't like fantastic in this one, and the movie does feel a little cheesy and a little cheap at times. But other than that, I've given it a few watches, and every few years I'll watch it again. So moving on, Pandorum. Now I've already done a video on this one too, so I won't talk about it too long. Essentially, there's these infected people on a ship. They're in space, and they're trying to survive. And it's got Dennis Quaid, for fuck's sakes. I don't know how it didn't do better. It's definitely worth a watch. Norman Reedus is in it before, before his, I think it was before Walking Dead. And it's a pretty clean film. I think that set design and makeup and costumes and everything were really good. And I think that anyone who's a zombie fan can find the same parallels and like this movie for what it is. And it did, even if it didn't get like great reviews or people didn't see it, it was just passed over. I think that it's worth the watch for sure. It definitely could have been better, but I think people judge it pretty harshly. I know Ben Foster here is such, like, I love watching him in anything. This dude right here. I think he's a great actor. I think they had a lot of great actors for this. I think it's got weird shit in it. You guys will love this. But if you didn't, I totally understand. I wish I knew why some people hated some of these movies. I don't watch movies with the expectation that it should change my life. I kind of watch movies in the aspect of it's like, oh, I really love what they did with the camera there. Oh, I really love what they did with this shot. This is a really good set piece. They really put a lot of time into, like, oh, these actors they're selling this fucking scene. But I don't look at film like it's supposed to change my life. And if it didn't, I don't watch the best film ever and expect every single film to reach that status. I do think that on some level that we should overlook certain things, especially if it's really selling the world and really doing its job. And I feel like that with a few movies, and there's one called The Time Machine. That's one that, it was a book, it got turned into a movie, and not a lot of people liked it, but I really do like that movie. And it seems to be the case that I know that not everyone's like me. They're not going in there to appreciate the lighting, but I think for me, it helps me be interested in something if I can see that the person working on it, like if you look up City of Lost Children, I think, the guy who made that, it's got Ron Perlman in it. My God, he like really cared about film. He really cared about what's going on there. And Anyway, I think that if you like zombie movies, you might like this movie. It's worth a shot. Now we're going to end it here. If you notice that I included not very many black and white films, I get who I'm talking to. This is a YouTube video and you're looking for a movie to watch today. Maybe not today, maybe tomorrow, maybe you're making a list and you just want somebody's opinion on stuff and it's curated. Well, let me explain something again. George A. Romero made his zombie movie debut making zombies what they were. Before zombies were what they were, if a film had a term zombie in it, it usually meant somebody who, quite frankly, had no personality, or they were like kind of dead inside, not the zombies that we think of now that have been transformed over years. With his first film, he really took the zombie term and made it something that it wasn't really originally meaning to be. If someone said zombie in this time, it might mean vampire or ghoul or like something else, but certainly not the zombies that we know. Now, having said this, I'm including this because, one, I love Vincent Price. I do like a lot of older horror movies. We got like House on Haunted Hill and stuff like that. A lot of these original black and white movies. And Vincent Price, honestly, is just what he was such a beautifully well-made man. Like in every aspect, he just was a fantastic actor, bro. But what is the storyline? The storyline is that people are vampire-esque creatures that act a little bit more zombie-esque, as we see here. You know, you get in the whole thing, but he is, quote-unquote, the last man on Earth. And quite frankly, he has to do the deed with this zombie. I'm not going to lie to you. But I think it's a decent movie. I think you should watch it. I think it's definitely not a waste of your time. This one you can watch on YouTube for free. Last Man on Earth, 1964. Okay. It has its merits. It has good reviews. I will say it's an older movie. And you're probably asking me, why didn't I include a lot of older movies? And it's because, quite frankly, I know that either a lot of people have already seen those, already know about them, or don't want to see them. And it's tragic, but I've had this conversation with a lot of people. Like, I still go back and watch Hidden Fortress. I still go back and watch, Seven Samurai and all these old black and white films. Me and my grandmother, the first time I ever saw Singing in the Rain was with her. And I guess where I'm at with it is I realize that people in a modern era don't really care about fucking Cyrano de Bergerac or any of these, Murder on the Orient Express, or I don't know. There's so many black and white films. There's so many black and white films that are, honestly, while they may seem silly today, some of the effects and like some of the monsters are not that terrifying to you because we've been desensitized, quite frankly. For their time, they were very good pieces. And honestly, these people took their jobs really seriously. And acting moved from stages to a silver screen. And yeah, they act a little bit weird because like they're used to being real actors on a stage. That was real acting back then. When they did movies, it was like not real acting. stage acting and screen acting were two separate things, and you do them differently and you project yourself differently. And I think I do wish more people would watch older films and appreciate them for what they were. But I understand that like forcing yourself to like something is also like not realistic, right? Look, we've been going on for 2 hours and 15 minutes. I love every single person that stayed and with me through this whole thing. I'm glad that we could get through this list, and I hope that I helped somebody. I hope this video does good, or I'm gonna feel like fucking dog shit. And I just want you to know I reply to every comment that is made on my video, and I just want people to have the same level of passion that I do, and want to share that with people. And you know, I really want your guys' comments. It brightens my day. Don't think that you can't sit there and put a comment down. I'm always here until I'm not. You know, it's the way the world goes. Give me a subscribe, share, watch the whole video all the way through. I mean, if you're listening to me gab, then you did, and I really do thank you for that. And you don't understand how appreciative I am of people doing that for me, because absolutely you do not have to, you know, put up with my ugly face for this long, but you did. And any help that you could be, go ahead and help me with that. I would love to get out there more, and I'd love to make more of these. I hope this list helped you find something that you'll love for years, or helped you find more movies that you cherish. If it didn't, then hey, I did my best. But if it did, you know, I'll be making the version of this for TV shows, and you see why I had to separate it. I'll be making the version of this for TV shows, which is zombie TV shows, in my next one, and that should be a little bit shorter. There's a lot less TV, I think. But yeah, I know that this video did not include, for some of you that are going to the comments right now, I know that this video did not include every single thing that I could have included. But could we have had a 7-hour video? Yeah, we totally could have. But let's be honest, it is what it is. This is what I could do. I narrowed this list down, and I curated it for people that care, that want to watch me. And I hope to see you in the next one. Thank you.